Hi everyone, welcome to chapter 5, consumer markets and buyer behavior. So in this part, we will get to know about the consumer buyer behavior as well as consumer market. The first one referred to a range of actions taken by the consumer before purchasing product or service. This process included consulting information via search engine, taking advice from others, and social media feedback. The second one is a place where people purchase goods or service for their personal use as opposed to buying it to sell themselves. This is the model of buyer behavior. This model is divided into three major parts: external factor, via black box, and they respond. So the first one, environment, refer to the component of the marketing mix and other point of the social and cultural. The next one is the buyer black box. This is the reactions, interactions of the consumer via their previous buying experience, beliefs, desire, quality of their chosen brand to make a decisions. And last one, via the influence of environmental factors on altering the decisions of consumer. The last step would be they respond to on the prior element to determine what they will buy, where, and how much.
Hi. So as we know in marketing, there's one single thing is that human consumers, human behaviors is not 100% rational for all of us for us to know, and they are influenced by many different factors. So first of all, we have the cultural factors, social factors, and then we have the personal and psychological traits factors that affects us humans in our decision. So first of all, we have the cultural factors. So marketers really need to aim into the culture specifically in order to understand how the entire population really works and the one common theme that they share around them. So first, we have the $1.7 trillion market of 55 million Hispanic Americans that is expected to grow up to 130 million consumers by 2030, which is massive. Then we have the African Americans, the next largest consumer group at 44 million people, with worth up to $1.3 trillion, with a heavy focus on selection and quality. And finally, with the 18.5 million Asian American market, worth up to $1 trillion, and is known for having a high brand awareness and loyalty. So marketers in this case must work for their brands in order to tailor campaigns to connect with these growing consumer group in the future. So as we know, there's a lot of different groups, and it can get very confusing. So how do they really group everything together? So they use the total market strategy, basically target a broader amount of consumers. They would, from various different backgrounds, that the brand would try to use this strategy, which use inclusive message, media, and distribution channels, which acknowledges the population increasing diversity and the opportunity for business to enter this new market. This approach aims to engage in a diverse consumer base and create a deeper connection with them, which group everybody together and find one common theme that they have in order to really target the bigger audience. Then we have the social factors. Social factors basically include groups, social network, family, social roles, and status. First, we have the word of mouth influence, basically a major role in consumer buying behavior, as we can see with recommendation from a trusted friends, family members, associate, or from a consumer that previously have already purchased that product can be very worth considering. We also have opinion leaders, a person who has a significant influence on the opinions and decisions of others within a group or community, often seen as someone with as an expert or someone with authority in their field. And finally, we have consumer, also referring to online social networks for purchasing decisions, like online communities, like blogs, online social media, online forums, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, are all the places that people will go to in order to really get the recommendations and the opinions from other people around the world. And then we have the roles and status. Basically, a person positioned in different group is determined by their roles and status, and they tend to choose products that align with these roles and status. For example, a working mother may have different roles and status in her company, family, and favorite sports events, and chooses her product accordingly to those events and status. Then next, we have the personal factor. It depends on we have the personal factors, basically occupation, the age and life stage, economic situation, lifestyle, and personality and self-concept. So occupation is quite clear. We can see blue-collar workers would aim to buy more rugged work clothes, while white-collar worker would aim for business suits. And then we have next the age and life stage. Basically, people have different purchasing decisions throughout their life. Throughout their marriage, they will have different divorce, children, going to college, changing in income and retirement and all of that. And then we have the economic situation. Basically, the right pricing is what most marketers are trying to aim for, trying to understand the behind the spending, personal income, savings, and interest rate in order to segment their product accordingly in order to get the most out their choices of the customers. Then we have the lifestyle, basically a pattern if marketer can spot can be the most valuable asset that they can gain, as it is one of the most important pattern that shows his or her activities, interests, and opinions to reach a purchasing decision. And finally, we have the personality and self-concept, also very quite explainable because each individual have different personality, but it can be grouped and generalized in order to really find a common feature they all share in order for the marketers to aim towards to. And finally, we have the psychological factors, basically the motivation, perception, learning, and beliefs and attitudes. So motivation is the drive that constantly presses a person to seek their satisfaction in life. This is important because we need to understand it in order to really predict the next move that a person would make. Perception is the process of selecting, organizing, interpreting information to make a meaningful choice. There are three perceptual processes, basically: selective attention, selective distortion, and selective retention. So attention is basically the tendency to ignore most information. Distortion is the tendency to interpret information in a way that supports the existing belief. And retention is the tendency to remember the positive points about a favorite brand and forget all the other points about the competitors. And then we also understand that consumer would also learn and adapt, which can be broken down into drive, stimuli, cues, and responses, and reinforcement. So a drive is a strong internal motivation that becomes a motive when directed towards specific object. Consumer respond to buying a product based on surrounding cues that influence their interests, such as spotting a camera brand in a shop window or hearing from a special sale price. Belief and attitude. Basically, a belief is a thought that a person holds about something and can be emotionally changed or not. And attitude is from a person's consistent evaluation, feelings, and tendency towards an option or idea.
Third part, we will get to know the type of buying decisions behavior. We got the fourth principle type result from the difference between brands and the involvement level. Look at the first box. A large difference among brand and high involvement product would create a complex consumer behavior as they need to research a product's pros and cons of the different available label. Second, with a variety-seeking buyer behavior, there is a very low brand loyalty, which is the behavior of customer to remain the commitment to purchasing one specific brand over any other. This is likely to be mutable options depend on their favorite as well as purchasing experience. Third, we got the dissonant reducing buying behavior often happen when it comes to buying expensive product, not regularly, and the smaller disparity between the brand and the market. So making decisions here is not much time consuming, and it also depends on the bargain and the scale of this brand. Lastly, low involvement and few difference will drive the consumer to the habitual behavior, as it's not much important for them to take risks and spend money.
Sometimes we make a very quick decision before buying something, but sometimes we take months trying to make the right purchase decision. Ever wonder why? The journey we go through before purchasing is known as the buy decision process, and that includes 5 stages. The first potential stage is the need recognition. The consumer recognizes a problem or need. They are triggered by internal and external stimuli. The second one is information search. The consumer is motivated to search for more information, and then the evaluation of alternative, in which the consumer uses information to evaluate alternative plans in the choice set. Next is the purchase decision stage. In this stage, the buyer's decision about which brands to purchase. And the final stage, post-purchase behavior, the stage of the buyer decision process in which consumers take further action after purchase based on their satisfaction or dissatisfaction. The adoption process is a mental process an individual goes through from first learning about the innovation to final regular use. Stages in adoption process include awareness, interest, evaluation, trial, and adoption. The consumer becomes aware of the new product but lacks information about it. But then, the consumer seeks information about a new product and tries it on a small scale to improve his or her estimate of its value. Finally, they decide to make full and regular use of the new product. About the individual differences in innovativeness, according to the figure we have, the innovators are venturesome. They are willing to try new products at some risk. The early adopter is guided by respect. They are opinion leaders in their communities and new product early but carefully. The early majority are deliberated. Although they are rarely leaders, they adopt new product before the average person. The late majority are skeptical. They adopt an innovation only after a majority of people have tried it. Laggards are traditional bound. They are suspicious only when it has become something of traditional itself. So now let's move to the final part of the lesson, influence of product characteristic on rate of adoption. We have relative advantage. The relative advantage refers to the degree to which an innovation appears superior to existing product. Compatibility. It is the degree to which an innovation fits the values and experiences of potential consumers. Complexity. Complexity is the degree to which an innovation is difficult to understand or to use. It's also one of the product characteristics that influence the adoption rate. Divisibility. Divisibility refers to the degree to which an innovation may be tried on a limited basis. And the final one, communicability. Even if all other product characteristics that influence the adoption rate are favorable, communicability can still slow down adoption significantly. It is the degree to which the result of using an innovation can be observed or described to others.
Good afternoon. So, on the previous chapter, we have been discussing about the consumer markets and buyers' behavior. Now, we will move on to the topic of business markets and business buyers' behavior. Unlike the consumer market, which is defined by the user, the business market is the market of organization that buys goods and services for the use in the production of other products and services that are sold, rented, or supplied to others. The business market buyers' behavior is the buying behavior of those organizations. And then we will have business buying process, which is the process in which businesses buyers determines the required products and services for their organizations and then find, evaluate, and choose among alternative suppliers and brand. So what are the characteristics of the business market structure and demand? Well, there are some distinct characteristics. There are fewer but larger buyers, since organizations are the purchaser, not final consumer. The business demand ultimately comes from or derives from the demand for consumer goods, but occasionally buyers to buyers promote their business products directly to final consumer in order to increase business demand. An example of this could be Corning's long-run, tough yet beautiful consumer marketing campaign. And finally, many businesses markets have inelastic and more fluctuating demand. So, are there any differences between a business purchase and a consumer purchase? Yes, a business purchase usually involves more decision participants, more buyers and sellers interactions, and more professional purchasing effort. To ensure an effective supply of products and materials, many businesses now practice supplier development, which is a systematic development of network of suppliers partners to ensure an appropriate and dependable supply of products and material for use in making products and or reselling them to others. And now we will move on to the business buyer's behavior. To study the behavior of the business buyers, marketers want to know how business buyers behave will respond to various marketing stimuli. The figures presented shows a model of the business buyer's behavior. There are four major types of buying situation within the business markets. We have straight buy situation, which a business buying situation in which the buyer routinely records something without modification. We have modified rebuy situation, which is when buyers want to modify products, specifications, price, terms, or suppliers. We have new task situation is when the buyers purchases a product or service for the first time. And we have system selling or solution selling situation, which is buying a package solution to a problem from a single seller, thus avoiding all the separate decisions involved in a complex buying situation. Well, to reach those major situations, the markets would require participants. The participants of a business buying process are buying centers, which is all the individuals and units that plays a role in the purchase decision-making process. We have users, which is the members of the buying organization who will actually use the purchase products or services. We have influencer, which is people in an organization buying center who affects the buying decision. They often help define specifications and also provides information for evaluating alternatives. We have buyers, which is people in an organization buying center who makes an actual purchase. We have deciders, which is people in an organization buying center who have formal or informal power to select or approve the final suppliers. And finally, we have the gatekeepers, which are people in an organization's buying center who controls the flow of information to others.
Major influences on business buyer. Business buyer buying decision is affected by many influences. Some marketers assume that the major influences are economic. In fact, business buyer actually respond to both economic and personal factors. There are various groups of influences on business buyers, such as environmental, organizational, interpersonal, and individual. The economy is having the most influences on business buyer because everything is reliant on it. Another environmental factor is the supply of key material. Business buyers are also affected by technological, political, and competitive development in the environment. Finally, culture and custom has powerful influences on business buyer reaction to the market behavior and strategies, especially in the international marketing environment. They must evaluate these factors carefully to create the opportunities from these challenges. Organizational factors are also important because each organization has its own purpose and vary from different situations. The buying center consists of many participants who influence each other, so interpersonal factors are also influence the business buying process. However, most of the time, interpersonal factors and group dynamics can be accessed. Interpersonal factors are often very subtle, but when there is a change, marketer must study and understand them to develop suitable strategy. Buying has many participants, so individual is also a factor because not everyone is the same. The business buyer decision process. When facing a new task buying situation, most buyers will go through this eight stage that I will examine right now. Problem recognition. Buying process just happens when there is a problem recognized and it can be solved by acquiring a product or service. Problem recognition come from both internal and external. Internally, a machine can break down and needed to be replaced, or the HR don't like the currently accounting firm due to many reasons and they want to sign with another firm. Externally, it mainly comes from the customer and change in the environment. General need description and product specification. After recognize what's the problem, buyer tend to prepare a general needs description, which giving look at characteristic and quantity of the needed item. There are two kinds of items that are standard and complex. Standard item not cost time to handle, but complex is the opposite because buyer have to meet with many departments and weight criteria carefully. In this phase, the alert business marketer head is useful for the buyer to define their needs and provide information about the value of different product characteristics. Product specification. This stage is focused on cost reduction with a product value analysis with many approaches such as redesign, standardized, or made by less costly method of production. Seller can also use this to help secure a new account. Supplier search. Now this is the time for the buyer to engage in a supplier search to find the best vendor. The buyer can pile up a small list of qualified suppliers by reviewing trade directories, doing online search, and or phoning other company about recommendation. The newer the buying task and the more complex and costly the item, the greater the amount of time the buyer will spend searching for supplier. About the proposal solicitation. In this stage, the buyer invites qualified supplier to offer proposal. To respond, some suppliers will reflect the buyers to their website or promotional materials, or send a salesperson to call on the prospect. But with complex expensive item, the buyers always require a detailed written proposal or formal presentation from each potential supplier. About a supplier selection, the participant of the buying center now evaluate the proposal and choose how many suppliers they will have. During this stage, the buyer center gather a list of desired attributes and their relative importance, and using this to identify the best supplier. Buyer may attempt to negotiate with the preferred supplier for better price and terms before making the final selection. Today, supplier development manager want to develop a full network of supplier partners that can help the company bring more value to its customer. Order routine specification. This stage includes the final order with the chosen supplier and list items such as technical specification, quantity needed, and expected delivery time, return policy, and warranty. Many large buyers now practice vendor managed inventory, in which they turn over ordering and inventory responsibility to their supplier. Under this system, sales and inventory information are shared with key suppliers for them to monitor and replenish stock when needed. Performance review. In this stage, both the buyer and supplier consider their satisfaction and choose whether to continue, modify, or drop the arrangement.
So our next part would be engaging business buyers with digital and social marketing. And here's our categories: e-procurements and online purchasing, B2B digital marketing, and social media marketing. E-procurements and online purchasing. Advances in information technology have dramatically affected the face of the B2B buying process. Online purchasings often called e-procurements. Companies can do e-procurements in any of these several ways: reverse auctions, trading exchange, company buying sites, and extranet link. Business-to-business digital and social marketing. B2B marketers are now using a wide range of digital and social media marketing approaches. B2B digital and social media marketing isn't just growing, it's exploding. Digital and social media markets have rapidly become the new space for engaging business customers. Institutional and government markets. Institutional markets. The institutional markets consist of schools, hospitals, nursing homes, prisons, and other institutions that provide goods and services to people in their care. Government markets. The government market offers large opportunities for companies, both big and small, In most countries, governments, organizations, and major buyers of goods and services